try to do it.
So it's time for action.
And they say that they're willing to sit down with you and have these strategies, and then they start doing their part. How much of these will be viewed? Because you know what happened, the chancellor went out and publicly addressed what's happening on campus, and he was in the view of many students that he wasn't authentic in that admission. So how do they move forward of sitting down with you and doing the strategy? Will they be coming together at some point? Will you see that happening at all?
I see it happening probably due to certain external and internal influences that are still to come. I see those conversations happening, but what they need to do is that the same way I'm facing a lot of different oppression. I have friends who are in intersectional of identities who are facing a lot of different oppression and issues. But they still get up every morning to do their job. They still get up every morning to come to school and learn. And so I expect the same out of administration. It's like, even if a plan doesn't work out perfectly the first time, you're getting paid all this money, so you need to get up and try again. And the biggest part is going to be communication. And that's where it's always failed, and that's why it's always been this gap between admins up here and the students over here, because there's no communication. That we have a transparency website which was recently created out of the call to action that we submitted to the administration last year. But it's not true transparency, because you're not telling us about the conversations that you're having. You're not telling us that you're intending to put an announcement out about diversity and inclusion training, which is something we asked for, but now you're putting out in a statement making it seem like you did it. So there's the gap in communication that has to happen before that trust starts to build, because without trust you're not going to get anywhere. Between students, between faculty, between staff, and between everyone on campus, every stakeholder on campus, until there's that trust and communication, nothing's going to progress.
But don't you think that they are open for dialogue? Anytime that you want to ask them for a meeting, will they sit down with you? Is that my thinking is that they would be over at Jesse Hall, don't you think? That when you ask for a meeting, they'll be available. Or if you suggest for a regular meeting between the administration and the students, do you think that is something that they are willing to do or they have done in the past?
I think it depends on who you are, just to be 100% honest. I believe that some of the more visible student leaders and student organizers very easily. So you look at Peyton Head, who's the MSA president. If he emailed anybody in Jesse Hall and was like, I need a meeting, I promise you either that day or soon that next morning he would have a meeting. Or somebody like me or some student organizer on campus, because we have a little bit more visibility. But in terms of, some of the friends I know, other people on campus who have very similar concerns, have different stories, everything, different lived experiences that are valuable to understanding the problem. These are people who will send an email to Jesse Hall, and I guarantee you they'll get a meeting, but it'll be a meeting for 2 months from now. And in 2 months, the issue would have already gotten worse.
So they're only listening to the voices that are visible. And you want it as a collectively, when they say we are engaged, and you want them to have engagement with every single organization or student that are asking for it.
Absolutely, yes, because for me, I represent my family. I'm Jonathan Butler. I represent the Butler family. I represent, my experiences and who I am. And as a black man, I do have an experience very similar to other black people, but I don't speak for all black people. And that's the common mistake that happens with administration, is they single out certain student leaders from certain communities and kind of utilize them as the voice for the whole community. And me, I will admit, in this space and every space I go to, I don't speak for all black people, but I do have a very similar experience to other black people on campus.
And you connect with them. They know what they're going through and the problems that they're having, and they relate them to you.
Yeah, and so I that's part of what I do for the Faculty Council Race Relations Committee, is that as one of the student representatives on that board, I go out and speak with students, both undergraduate and graduate, and I ask for their stories. And again, in confidence, I don't reveal their identity or anything like that, but I tell their stories to the faculty members so that they can begin to understand what they're dealing with their students, and how when you're interacting with your students in this way, it comes off very offensive. If you're doing this, it's very disrespectful. And some of these faculty members don't understand that. So it's on different levels of getting these stories to the people who need to hear these stories.
And you're saying that you have so many things going on with you already, and it's not pretty much your job to do that. They should already know these things on their part, because that's supposed to be part of their job, is to know to do this. And what's happening is you're actually helping out the students and educating the educators. Is that what's your view that's happening?
Yeah, I do view that. I'm educating the people who should, one, already be educated on the issue. And for me, even if they weren't fully educated on class, privilege, socioeconomic status, supremacy, how patriarchy, capitalism, imperialism, if they weren't educated on all these issues, it's the fact that you should have people in these positions that are open to educating themselves about these issues. So even if you don't know about transphobia, even if you don't know about homophobia, if you don't know about racism, sexism, sexual
assault, that?
Even if you're not fully aware and educated with the language and how these systems
the
work,
theory and what
the theories, the frameworks,
yes.
then you still. I'm okay with that because we're flawed. We're humans. We're all humans. I understand that. But I can't have someone in a leadership position who doesn't know those things and is not willing to educate themselves. Right. And so that's the thing is like, there are administrators who've never walked into the Gainesville Black Culture Center. There are administrators who've never been to the Women's Center. There are educators and faculty, staff, administrators who have never been to the Relationship and Sexual Violence Prevention Center. So, there are things, we have social justice centers on campus of which we are very blessed and privileged to have because there are a lot of universities who don't.
Yeah.
But we have people in power who are dictating policies, dictating funding, dictating all these things for those centers, but have never even interacted or engaged with those communities, and that's problematic.
So there's really a lack of engagement, the level of engagement between them and the people that they're supposed to be engaged with and have knowledge with and really interacting on a regular basis. And so that, it's easy to understand when you're doing you send these grievances or suggestions. It's not that they don't understand it. They should have already known if they are really fully engaged. Is that done? So what happened is, okay, so you're easy to talk to. You're very you're very open to this dialogue and really really nice. So do you think that if they try to do this with other student leaders on campus, will they have the same access to them? Maybe they hesitate. They can engage with you and they can talk to you. But what about the other people that you know on campus? Maybe I'm just trying to explore the reasons why they would not engage them. Or do you think?
I can't find a reason why they wouldn't engage them. I understand that I'm very privileged, even though I'm in the press category as a black male in America, and then also my invisible identities that people don't know about. I'm privileged in the sense that I not only have a degree, but I'm getting an advanced degree. So I do have some of more of the rhetoric and the language to have these conversations, which give me access to those conversations. But even for students who are undergraduate levels or in different programs who don't have that same access to the language that I do, because I study higher education. Right. Their stories and their lived experiences are still valued. So I can't find a reason why they wouldn't want to talk to students at large, the actual campus body, because everyone's life has value and their humanity has worth. So why wouldn't you want to hear from these populations and these groups and really understand? So I can't think of a reason. Like, granted, there are people who are very passionate. Yes, I'll use the word passionate and don't always articulate their passion the same way I would, but that shouldn't matter. That's not an excuse. That's not a barrier to having a conversation because they're passionate because them or them friends are getting called the N-word on campus. They're passionate because they're seeing that sexual assault is going on campus and administrations are not addressing it. They're passionate because they're seeing different forms of physical, emotional, and psychological violence going on campus, and they're telling people, but no one's listening. So I advocate for students to be passionate in their arguments, passionate in their demands. But I cannot find a reason why admins would not want to meet with every single student on campus.
So this is what you want to happen first. So if we talk about how do we do this? If since you're already like educating the educators, and what do you want to what do you want to see happen? What do you want them to do to start? Because I know you have this list. To me, it's big, and it's like it's looking at the system as a whole to change. Don't you think that's a little? It's very hard if you say, okay, we need to change the system. Do you think that's like rather than working one issue at a time instead of looking at the system? Do you think that's possible? If they're willing to do it, and if they're willing to work with you and other leaders on campus to go and solve the problem one issue at a time. Is that possible?
I'll answer it this way.